Kia ora koutou katoa, ko Grant Harris, toku ingoa. My name is Grant Harris. Welcome to Windsor Park Online. Great to be joining with you today. We hope that you're having a great day wherever you are joining us from. We would love you to interact with our online host. If you're on a platform that you can make comments on, we love it when it's a little bit interactive in the platform that we use in our online campus. We hope that you have experienced the presence of God with you in your week, and that today we can focus our hearts on what He wants to speak to us, particularly a little bit later as Pastor John Tucker, and I'll introduce him to you a bit later, will be speaking to us as well. Well, here at Windsor Park, we have a little tagline that says that we want to put our faith into action. It's kind of part of our vision overall. We do that in so many different ways, both locally in our own community, through our nation here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and internationally, and we all play a part in that. We have a ministry that we call Beyond the Walls, which is effectively a part of our budget that we dedicate to supporting people and projects all around the place, beyond what we normally do on a day-to-day basis here at Windsor Park. One of the organisations that we've been intricately involved with for many years now is an organisation called Tear Fund. You've probably heard of them. They are an international aid agency that originated here in New Zealand 50 years ago and continues to be involved internationally in many different areas. They started small in 1975. It's grown into really New Zealand's largest Christian aid and development agency. It raises over $15 million a year, supports a whole range of global partners. And really, if we think about Tear Fund, there are four key areas that they're involved in: child development, modern slavery, farming and enterprise, disaster and conflict. They respond to those areas in many different ways. Here at Windsor Park, we are really involved in the child development area through child sponsorship. And we have about 80 people that support children in a particular area of the Philippines. And so we really believe in child sponsorship. We encourage you, if you don't sponsor a child and you are able to, then we really want to endorse the ministry of Tear Fund to you. But we love Tear Fund. We have partnered with them for many years. Coming up on the 11th of September, which is a Thursday evening, Tear Fund are having their 50th anniversary. 7 p.m. at St. John's Presbyterian Church in Mount Roskill here in Auckland. If you are living in Auckland or you can get to Mount Roskill, we really want to highlight that to you. Here's an image with the details of it so you can put that picture into your mind or write it down in your diary. Just a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the journey of Tear Fund for 50 years. Thousands of lives that they have impacted, and we are just a little part of that. So if you'd like to go to that, I really encourage you to head to the Tear Fund website, tearfund.org.nz. You'll find out more details about who they are and what they are about. You might also remember, if you've been part of our church for a little while, that last year we had our first exposure trip with Tear Fund and with their global partner called Compassion International to the Philippines, into this area where about 80 people sponsor children. Well, our next exposure trip, we call it a sponsors exposure trip. For anyone that's kind of interested in what child sponsorship looks like, who wants to see the difference that it makes on the ground, our next trip is coming up in February 2026. We already have a team of people going, but we do have space for a few more. So if you are a sponsor of a child anywhere in the world, to be honest, but if you want to see what it looks like on the ground in people's homes, get a close-up view of how it actually functions. We often have questions about that. You'd be super welcome to join us. I would encourage you to contact me, just email me or get in touch with us through the comments section on your platform today, or message us or text us or whatever us. Head to our website, windsorpark.org.nz, and there are a range of ways you can get in contact with us, and I can give you some more information about that. It's in the middle of February 2026. Whilst we're thinking about, travel, here's a question to interact with your online hosts, with the people that you are sitting with perhaps. If there is a country in the world that you would like to travel to, where would that be? But more importantly, why? Is it for a holiday? Do you want to see something specific? Is there something on your heart about some country? Let's take a few moments to perhaps dream, or to think, or to hear ourselves talk, or to experience what somebody else has to say. Let's spend a moment just interacting and welcoming one another. Well, I hope you enjoyed sharing some travel hopes and dreams. For me, my hopes and dreams are really quite close to home. I really want to go to the outback of Australia. That's where I want to see. I'm quite fascinated by that big land, and I want to see how things work out in that part of the world. Maybe one day I'll go to there. Well, there are a range of different things coming up for us here at Windsor Park that we would love you to connect into. Perhaps if you're a young adult, which is kind of 18 through 20s or something like that, we have a movie night coming up here at Windsor Park next Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Great chance to hang out with one another, enjoy a movie, have some pizza and snacks. The details are on the screen. You'd be super welcome to come to that. And then our next men's breakfast is coming up on Saturday, the 2nd of August here at our Marangi Bay campus. We have a wonderful speaker, Peter Wilson, who has been involved in rural development projects across 21 countries, but has had a special interest in North Korea. So super interesting to hear about North Korea, how the underground church works in that place. It's going to be super interesting. Again, the information is on the screen for you to click into. If you want to know more information about our events, again, head to our website /coming up and you can see all the details there. Well, you will know that we are part of the Baptist Union of New Zealand, and part of that we have a Bible college that's part of who we are, Carey Baptist College. It's celebrating its 100th birthday next year, so it's been around a long time. Trains pastors, it trains people for mission and ministry. A lot of people study as part of Carey. We have about 350 students there at the moment doing a range of different study programs. And we love what Carey does. It interacts with the local church. It seeks to empower, it seeks to equip, it seeks to provide resource to us as a family of churches here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. We love what Carey is about and we strongly endorse it to you. We say if you want to go deep in your faith, then Carey is a great place to do that, from some of its intro level programs right through to doing a PhD if you want to do that. So there is a great range of opportunities to connect in, to grow our faith at significant ways, to interact with others, to be part of the community. And so we want to endorse Carey to you. Here's a little video of Carey that introduces you to both Carey's new principal, but also a bunch of different faces that you will recognize if you're part of our church, because they star well in this video. One of them in particular, Aidan Wivel, is on our pastoral team, and I'd have to say this video, a portion of this video was created last year while he was still a student, and now he's full-time with us as a pastor, is a graduate of Carey. So you can see the outputs of what Carey produces. Let's be inspired by what Carey is by watching this video.
Here at Carey, we follow Jesus. We're shaped by the Bible, we're captivated by the gospel. We're committed to the church and we're caught up in God's mission to bring unity to all things under Christ. Now these convictions, they shape our teaching, they inform our research, and they form our graduates. I wonder if it's time for you or someone you know to journey with us.
Whakawhanaungatanga is about becoming community. It's about becoming family. This is really important to us. Distant students and on-site students, we're all part of the Carey whānau. Students and staff eat lunch together, learn together. We worship God together. We journey together.
I'm journeying on the pastoral leadership track, so I'm learning on the job while I study. Some other students are doing internships in their churches or organizations, and others are preparing for mission locally and overseas. We get to live out our learning, where the rubber meets the road. At Carey, training for ministry and mission leadership means formation of the whole person, head, heart, and hands.
One thing I really appreciate about my Carey journey is that our lecturers are both top academics and experienced practitioners. They are all actively engaged in ministry, and so they're able to help us integrate our faith, our context, and our practice. I love this integrative approach to theology.
God has assembled at Carey a very special team of gifted and passionate academics and leaders. Our faculty are producing outstanding research and teaching, which has made us, by one measure, the highest ranked private training establishment in Aotearoa. We do what we do because we love Jesus and because we want to journey with people and help form Christian leaders who by the Spirit's power will equip God's people for the work of ministry and engage in God's mission of renewing this world.
Come, journey with us.
Again, you would see Kerry's website on there, kerry.ac.nz. Take a good look at it. There's some very interesting things in there, and we love the opportunity for people to study there. We have a lot of people from Windsor Park that study there in a range of different ways, from both training to be pastors like Aidan did, to Tanya, who was on that video, who was just studying to deepen her faith and to find ways in which that's going to work out in the ways that she serves God over on Waiheke Island. Well, in a moment, I'm going to say Pastor John Tucker, like I said earlier. John Tucker, in fact, used to be the principal of Kerry Baptist College. At the end of last year, he stepped away to be a full-time faculty member at Kerry. So as a teacher, but as a pastor at heart, and he's an elder here at Windsor Park. He leads a young adult life group here at Windsor Park. The Tucker family are very much embedded in our ministry, and so we love having them as part of our church. And so John is going to bring us a message today called The Way Up is Down, out of Mark chapter 10. So if you have your Bible, you might want to have that ready. But before John comes and speaks to us, we would love to spend some time worshiping with one another, talking about the grace of God, the greatness of God, the opportunity for us to open our hearts and hear what he might be saying to us as we perhaps sing or reflect or pray or just spend some time with some beautiful music. So I'm going to hand over to the team, and then John will come and speak.
Who breaks the power of sin and darkness, whose love is mighty and so much stronger, the King of glory, the King above all kings, who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder, who leaves us breathless in awe and wonder, the King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Who brings our chaos back into order, who makes the orphan a son or daughter, the King of glory, the King of glory, who rules the nations with truth and justice, shines like the sun in all of its brilliance, the King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me.
Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave.
Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. blessing for all that you've done for me.
Kia ora, it's so good to be with you. Let me read to you from Mark's Gospel, Mark chapter 10, reading it from verse 35. Hear the word of the Lord. Mark 10, verse 35. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus. Teacher, they said, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked. They replied, let one of us sit at your right hand and the other at your left in your glory. You don't know what you're asking, Jesus said. Can you drink the cup I drink, or be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with? We can, they answered. Jesus said to them, you will drink the cup I drink and be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with. But to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they've been prepared. When the other 10 disciples heard about this, they became indignant with James and John. And Jesus called them together and said, you know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. A few weeks ago, my wife and I had the privilege of spending about 14 days, 2 weeks, walking a section of the Camino, a trail in the north of Spain. And on the journey, we met a lovely Kiwi guy. He had sold his house, he had resigned his job, he had given up everything and set aside 6 weeks to walk the Camino and think about the rest of his life. One night, as we were chatting over the table, he looked at me and said, I've got a question. He said, what makes life meaningful? What's the secret to a meaningful life? I wonder how you'd answer that question. There's a professor of Georgetown University, a guy by the name of Francis Ambrosio, and he says there are 2 ways to think about a meaningful life. One is the way of the hero, and the other is the way of the saint. And what I find interesting about this really interesting little story in Mark's Gospel is that right in the heart of this little narrative, we see both of these ways, both of these archetypes modeled for us. The way of the hero is modeled for us by the disciples. You know, they're following Jesus on the way to Jerusalem, the royal city where they expect that their Messiah, their master, the Son of Man, will be enthroned in glory. And 2 of the disciples, James and John, they come to him and they say, as we read in verse 37, let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in your glory. In other words, when you take power, when you establish your government, give to us the 2 top positions in your cabinet. Give us the top positions in your administration. We want to be at the top. And when the other 10 disciples get wind of this conversation, Mark says that they're indignant with James and John. They're angry with James and John. Why? Because they want those positions themselves. I mean, flick back a page in the story, and Jesus asks his disciples at one point, what were you arguing about on the road? And Mark says, they kept quiet because on the way they were arguing about who of them was the greatest. The disciples are living in a world obsessed with status and honour and rank. In the Roman Empire, the social order was one big pecking order, like a ladder, a large ladder. At the very top of that ladder, at the top of society, was Caesar. And beneath him were the 600 or so senators. Beneath them were the equestrian class. Beneath them were the decurions. And these are the elite Romans, the very top ranks, 2% of the empire, of the population. Beneath them, the other 98%, they were what Tacitus, a Roman historian, called the rabble. They were the personae mediocribus. They were the nobodies. But even among the nobodies, there were various ranks. So at the top of the nobodies were the citizens, that class of Roman that enjoyed certain legal privileges and protections. Beneath the citizens were the freedmen. They didn't have the legal rights of citizens, but they had the personal liberty of freed men. And then beneath them, at the very bottom of the status hierarchy, at the lowest rung on the ladder, were the slaves. They had no rights whatsoever. They existed simply to serve those above them. Now, the goal of life was to climb the ladder. And the greatest tragedy in life was to come down the ladder. You wanted to get as high as you could. Coming down the ladder, humbling yourself, humility, that was not a virtue. That was the greatest tragedy of all. That's why Plutarch could write a book back then with the snazzy title, How to Praise Yourself Inoffensively. That's why Emperor Caesar Augustus could write a best-selling book in that genre with the title, The Achievements of the Divine Augustus. My Achievements. Listen to this. This is an excerpt from that book. He says, 3 times I triumphed at oration. 21 times I was named emperor. The Senate voted thanks for me to the immortal gods. 55 times in my triumphs, 9 kings or children of kings were led before my chariot. I have been consul 13 times. I was highest ranking senator for 40 years. I held the office of Pontific Maximus. A golden shield was given me by the Senate and people of Rome on account of my courage, clemency, justice, and piety. And after this time, I excelled all in excellence. In other words, I am a hero. I'm the greatest. Well, can you imagine living in a world like this? A world that is obsessed with status. Recently, I read about an interesting experiment that was conducted at Harvard University. Some students were asked to make a choice between 2 job offers. Would they prefer a job where they earned $50,000 a year, option A, or would they prefer a job where they would earn $100,000 a year, option B? Now, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. Who wouldn't want a job that earned twice as much? But there was a twist. You may have heard this about this study. In option A, the student earns $50,000 a year, but everyone around them would earn $25,000 a year, half as much. In option B, where they earn $100,000 a year, everyone else around them would earn $200,000 a year, twice as much. So while option B would give you more money in absolute terms, it would mean earning less than your peers, who would be above you. So what did the majority of students choose? Can you imagine? The majority of students chose option A, $50,000 a year. They chose to receive, to earn less than they could have. And you think, why? Why was that? According to the study, the desire for more money was outweighed by the need to feel superior to others, to be better off in comparison, to be the greatest. We still live in a world obsessed with status. We still live in a world that is trying to walk the way of the hero. But in this story, Jesus shows us a better way, the way of the saint. He calls his disciples together, Mark says, in verse 42, and this is what he says. He says, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you." He says, "Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Whoever wants to be first must be slave of all." In other words, if you want a high rung on the ladder, take a low rung. And if you want the highest position, take the lowest position of all. Jesus is saying, in my kingdom, the way up is down. The way to the very top is to go to the very bottom. Put others above yourself. Put everyone above yourself. Serve them. Suffer for them. I mean, that's actually what this reference in the story to the cup and the baptism mean. It's a reference to suffering, dying even for the sake of others. Now, with these words, Jesus completely changed the world. He completely upended the status hierarchy. He revolutionized our understanding of greatness. I mean, there are historians like John Dixon and Tom Holland who say, because of Jesus and because of words like these, we now live in a world where humility is regarded not as a vice, not as a tragedy, but as a virtue. Humility, in our eyes today, because of Jesus, is something attractive. Let me give you an example. Sir Edmund Hillary. He ascends to the top of Mount Everest in 1953, and because of that extraordinary achievement, he is covered in an avalanche of honours. He gets knighted by the Queen, he's appointed New Zealand High Commissioner to India, Nepal and Bangladesh, he's awarded the Order of the Garter, the highest honour available in the British Commonwealth. But the Encyclopaedia Britannica records this about Sir Edmund Hillary. Throughout his life, he maintained a high level of humility, and his main interest came to be the welfare of the Himalayan peoples of Nepal, especially the Sherpas. And through the Himalayan Trust that he founded, he built schools and hospitals and airfields for the people of Nepal, for the Sherpas. He put them before himself. In one of his many trips back to the Himalayas, he was spotted by a group of tourist climbers, and recognizing the great man, they begged him for a photo, and he agreed. He said, "Yep, that's fine." So to set up, they gave him an ice axe to look the part, and as they were getting ready to take the shot, another climber walked past, and not recognizing the man in the center of the photo, he strode up to Sir Edmund Hillary, this great climber, the greatest climber the world's ever seen, and said to him, "Excuse me, that's not how you hold an ice axe. Let me show you." And everyone stood back in silent amazement as they watched Sir Edmund Hillary thank the man, adjust his grip, and then proceed to smile for the photo. Now, I tell you that story, and your estimation of Edmund Hillary increases, doesn't it? Because we value humility. It's a virtue. In our eyes, it's attractive. We know that the best leaders, the greatest leaders, the most compelling leaders are humble servants who use their gifts and their abilities and their opportunities and their influence to benefit other people, not themselves. Now, we know that, but like the disciples, we can still be just as obsessed with our own status and honour as everyone else. And I think that's the case even in the church. There's a story that's told about Thomas Aquinas, the medieval theologian who was being shown through the Vatican in Rome, all the glories of the Vatican and St. Peter's Basilica. And the Pope, Innocent IV, who was leading him on this tour, referring to the story of the beggar, the lame beggar in the book of Acts, said to Aquinas, "Look, the church no longer has to say, 'Silver and gold have I none.'" And Aquinas replied to the Pope, "Yes, but the church is no longer able to say, 'In the name of Jesus Christ, get up and walk.'" Over the last few months, I've been doing the exercises, the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius. These are exercises that, the prayer exercises that have you living in Scripture, and they invite you to reflect deeply on your life as you do that. And as I was doing one of the exercises, I saw myself as a young 11-year-old schoolboy walking across the playground at Wesley Intermediate in Mount Roskill. And I was thinking to myself, if I win the school cross country, if I win the public reading competition, if I were to win the art prize, if I was to assemble a series of achievements, it's possible that I could be appointed head prefect next year. And if I was head boy, people would look up at me and I'd feel good about myself. I have so often since then tried to take the way of the hero. I've tried to build my identity and my self-worth around being better or greater than those around me, achieving higher grades, running faster times, preaching better sermons, having a nicer house. Bill McKibben is a journalist who writes that most of us in the church, most of us Western Christians, have replaced the Christianity of the Bible with its call for sharing and personal sacrifice with a competing creed, the creed of self-improvement. Most of us, he says, simply reflect our dominant culture, a culture of unrelenting self-obsession. So how do we break free of this? We look to the one who modelled for us the way of the saint in the story. Jesus says to his disciples in verse 45, these immortal words, he says, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Just a few days after speaking these words, Jesus will be enthroned in Jerusalem, not between two disciples, but between two criminals, impaled on a cross. And in the Roman Empire, crucifixion was considered so shameful, so awful, that it was against the law for a Roman citizen to be crucified. It was a form of execution reserved particularly for slaves. It was the lowest rung imaginable. And from the highest rung imaginable, the Son of Man, the King of glory, the Son of God, willingly descends the ladder. He humbles himself in order to give himself as a ransom, as a payment, purchasing our freedom from slavery to pride, redeeming us for himself. We're worth everything to him. In his death, in his love, we have all the status we could ever need. I'm currently writing a biography on J.K. Archer. He was a New Zealand Baptist pastor who for most of his life basically worked two jobs, 16-hour days. His day job was a pastoral leader in his local church, and then in his discretionary time, he was a political leader in the wider community. He served for a time as the mayor of Christchurch during the Great Depression. He was a member of Parliament for 12 years. He was the founder of the Labour Party and president of the Labour Party. He was once preaching a sermon on this wonderful text where it says in Matthew chapter 27, "If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." It's what the religious leaders and the crowds were saying to Jesus as he hung there, impaled on the cross. And at the close of this message, J.K. Archer said, "Some of my friends sometimes say to me, 'J.K., why do you give so much time to all this political stuff? Like, it just makes life so difficult for you. It's so hard for you. All of these extra hours, all of this blood, sweat and tears that you spill. And what do the people that you're trying to help even care anyway?'" And J.K. Archer, this is what he said. He said, "I could come down from the cross that God has given me, but I must not. I've taken up my social work for Christ's sake. So I could lay the cross down, but I will not. I will not." Can you see Christ hanging on the cross for your sake? Can you hear him speaking to you? Saying, "Follow me. Join me. Down here." It might mean confessing that you are trying to build your life, your identity, your self-worth around your achievements and being better or greater than others. It might mean choosing a career that carries less status and recognition in the eyes of the world. It might mean planning to give a greater proportion of your income and your discretionary time away to others, those in need. It might mean persevering with that dysfunctional person who gives you so little in return. But Jesus says, if you want to live a meaningful life, it will mean putting others above yourself, choosing to serve them and suffer for them. Because he says, in my kingdom, the way up is down. The way to the very top is to go to the very bottom. Like he did for us. Amen.
Well, thanks, John, for that message that is very challenging to the way that we live and often the perceptions of the way in which the world works. As we finish today, I'd love us to listen to a song that was written a number of years ago now. It's a song called The Servant King. It was very popular in its time because it's a song that kind of reflects the nature of Jesus as a servant to people, to the world. And if we are to be like Jesus, then that is the model that we follow. So this song talks about Jesus as our servant king and for us to adopt that posture in our lives. You might recognize the song if you've been around a little bit. If not, just listen to those lyrics and be challenged by it because they reflect the message that John has just spoken to us. And when we finish that song, our time is finished. Thanks for joining us at Windsor Park Online. May you know the presence of Christ with you this week as we seek to follow his will in our world.
From heaven you came, helpless babe, entered our world, your glory veiled, not to be served, but to serve, and give your life that we we might live. This is our God, the servant King. He calls us now to follow Him, to bring our lives as a daily offering of worship to the servant King.
There in the garden of tears, my heavy load He chose to bear. His heart with sorrow was torn. Yet not my will, but yours, He said.
This is our God, the servant King. He calls us now to follow Him, to bring our lives as a daily offering of worship to the servant King. Come see His hands and His feet, the scars that speak of sacrifice, hands that flung stars into space, to cruel nails surrender. This is our God, the servant King. He calls us now to follow Him, to bring our lives as a daily offering of worship to the servant King. So let us learn how to serve, and in our lives enthrone Him, each other's needs to prefer.